So it's an unusual situation. We've got 2 virtual members. Appearing virtually. So Sharon Rowland is here, so we can start the meeting when you're ready.
Okay. Okay. Welcome everyone to the Tuesday, October 11th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Shall we stand for a pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tom, you want to go ahead and take roll?
Yes, Brad Hemingway.
Present.
Daniel Buxa.
Here.
Roland Raffin.
Here.
Brian Specht.
Present.
Via Zoom. Sharon Mayer.
Here.
Present via Zoom. And Town Council Liaison Leanne Mellon.
Present.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the meeting from August 9th. Do I have any corrections, comments?
Make a motion to approve. Hemingway, second.
Okay, Tom, we've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I'll take the roll call. Brad Hemingway.
Yes.
Daniel Buxa.
Yes.
Roland Raffin.
Yes.
Brian Specht.
Yes.
Sharon Mayer.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, next on the agenda is preliminary hearing, BZA docket number 22-014, Legacy Sign Group on behalf of Luke Oil requesting approval of a variance for a monument sign.
Thank you, President Mayor. This is a preliminary hearing for a variance request for a sign located at the currently Go Low gas station on the corner of Broadmoor and Calumet Avenue at 750 Broadmoor Avenue. As stated in the staff report that I provided to you last week, this gas station is being rebranded as a Citgo gas station. And what they're doing is basically just changing all the signs on the site. There's an existing monument sign at the northeast corner of the property. It is considered a legal non-conforming sign because there are a number of different non-conformities. So it doesn't comply 100% with our current zoning ordinance. And our code permits a non-conforming sign to be modified, but the modifications and changes to the sign must conform with the current code. So essentially, the sign is permitted to remain, but any changes have to be code compliant. So they presented a sign concept to reuse that monument sign, as I said, and install a kind of white face to that metal cabinet with the Citgo logo and text stating Citgo. As I said, that's fine. The only variance that's going to be required for this is there's a maximum letter and logo height of 12 inches. And the sign that they're proposing has as you can see in this top rendering here, a Citgo, I don't know what the term is, but it's a triangle logo that is 21 inches in height. So it exceeds the maximum permitted height of a character. There are 2 renderings on this page, as you can see. The top one is the proposed sign that requires the variance. The bottom one, labeled figure 3 conforming sign not proposed, is what the sign would look like if it were to comply with our standards for that logo height. So this is a preliminary hearing. You're not being asked to take any action tonight, but simply advance it to a public hearing in the next month. Larry Yurko of Legacy Sign Group is here in the room to present the request as well.
Good evening.
Tom, you said that there is someone in the room to speak on this?
Yes, my name is Larry Yurko with Legacy Sign Group, and not much more to add than what Tom did with regards to our request. The reason for that 1 foot 9 inch tall logo is that tri-marked logo is in fact their branding standard, and reducing it to conform with code then changes their brand altogether, as you can see visually. We're working with an existing sign cabinet, so from a proportion standpoint, we would like to keep their brand intact and consistent with what they do on a regional level or national level. That's all.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board?
The Citgo, Brad Hemingway, the Citgo sign over on 45th, that's a Citgo station as well.
That's correct. Yeah, corner of 45th and Franklin.
And it has their standard logo on that sign, correct?
That is correct, and it's comparable to what we're requesting here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'll ask a question. This is Dan Buxa. Does Citgo have any stations in upscale communities, resort communities?
I cannot answer that. I can find out for you and report back to you.
So Tom, basically it's a triangle.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's simply that triangle.
Do we inspect the existing Colo sign, check that it's meeting our landscape sign requirements?
It is not.
So that needs to be brought up. Yes.
And we are prepared to ensure that that is brought up to meet code.
So the Citgo, Luke Oil owns this one in town and the other station at 45th and Franklin.
As I understand this.
That being said, I'll make a motion to set this for public hearing.
Second.
Tom, we have a motion and a motion and a second. Please take the roll.
Okay, Brad Hemingway,
Yes.
Daniel Buxa,
Yes.
Roland Raffin,
Yes.
Brian Specht,
yes,
Sharon Mayer.
Yes. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Tom, I don't know if he can hear me or not, but can you tell him that he'll need to work with you to get out the notices?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so next item on the agenda, let's see, we have no public hearings, so we'll go on to findings of fact. BZA docket number 22-11, Tim Overmeyer of Van Adco Signs on behalf of People's Bank. We have any corrections on this finding of fact?
I'll make a motion to approve BZA docket number 22-011.
Hemingway, second.
Tom, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, Brad Hemingway,
Yes.
Daniel Buxa.
Yes.
Roland Raffin.
Yes.
Brian Specht,
yes,
Sharon Mayer.
Yes. Okay, so we have any other items for discussion?
Staff has none.
I had a comment regarding the closure of the garage at Michael Dust's house. I don't know if anyone has gone by there, but you know, I think the last time we spoke about it, he was in the midst of having his siding replaced on his house, and yet it still looks like it's not a permanent closure.
It's an unusual design, but it is permanently closed. It does look like a garage door still.
So I guess that's what happens when the expectations are not clearly stated.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, the ordinance requires that the number of garage spaces be limited, and that was accomplished by closing off that attached garage.
But it doesn't really look like it's closed.
Can you not get in it?
I don't think you can't get into it. I mean, it's been framed out and closed, so it does look like it's still a garage door, but it's not. It has vinyl siding on it. I think it's going to open up.
Well, that was all I had. Anyone else?
Nope.
Nope.
Our next regular business meeting is November 8th. And
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you. Thanks for not getting in an accident, Roland.
No problem. Is the recording off?
Let me turn it on.
That is just a hot.
Yeah. Is that your older one? Yeah. Just.
Oh, 1 and 2.
He's locked in.
Yeah.
Pictures and
It's 7:30. I'll call the Town of Munster Planning Commission meeting to order. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Town, would you please call roll?
Yes, Councilor Mellon. Councilor Mellon, sorry. Councilor Kulturitis is absent. Councilor Tulowitzki. Present. Rachel Brannigan.
Present.
Bill Baker.
Here.
Brian Specht. You're muted, but I see you are present on Zoom.
Yep, I'm present and on Zoom. Sorry about that.
No problem. And Roland Raffit.
Here. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from September 13th, 2022. The board had a chance to review the minutes, and so is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Tom, would you please call roll?
Counselor Millen,
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki,
Yes.
Rachel Brannigan.
Yeah.
Bill Baker.
Yes.
Brian Specht,
Yes.
Roland Raffit.
Yes. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a preliminary hearing. It's PC docket number 22020. Spin Munster LLC, represented by Gary Wolfel, requesting approval of a preliminary plat for the Kenmara Phase 1B dedication of Maple Leaf Boulevard. Tom, I'll turn this over to you for a presentation.
Okay, thank you. We've seen two previous plats for the redevelopment of the Lansing Country Club property. This one is called Phase 1B, and it represents the extension of Maple Leaf Boulevard from the Maple Leaf Crossing development to the northwest along the former Pensy Railroad right-of-way, which is owned by the town, and then west through NIPSCO substation property. This is the southeast access point for the Lansing Country Club development. Got it up here on the screen, but in summary, it involves a number of different pieces of property that have to kind of come together to provide this access point. So there is included in this plat dedication of a triangle of property at the southwest corner of the Pepsi bottling plant. So if you look on this image here, zoom in a little bit for you all. That would be located right here, as you can see where this Maple Leaf Boulevard kind of swings out to get onto that railroad right away. In order to get the correct angle, they need to kind of cut the corner on the Pepsi bottling plant facility. The next kind of segment of the project is this improvement of the railroad right of way with a 2-lane roadway, parkway, and then a multi-use path. And you can see this going through here, this kind of gray line is the road. This dark line is the multi-use path that crosses over here and then extends along the northeast side of the property, ultimately connecting to the Pensy Greenway to the north. It goes under the McD Railroad viaduct there. And then moving on, there's a driveway. Okay, so there's also this driveway connection into the Pepsi bottling plant that will permit trucks to exit only from the Pepsi bottling plant, travel to the south, and then exit onto Calumet Avenue at the signalized intersection to be installed by Maple Leaf Crossing. And then this segment here is a 66-foot wide road right of way through the NIPSCO property. And then there's a 50-foot long, 66-foot wide easement under the McD Railroad tracks, which will be ultimately constructed here. This will be under the bridge. So the tracks will be up on a bridge at this point. And the town has long asked for and McD has been amenable to granting that easement. So that, in a nutshell, is the extent of this part of the project. As I said, it involves numerous property owners, including the town, who owns the railroad right of way, Pepsi Co., which owns that corner at the southeast corner there, and then NIPSCO and McD. So all of those parties have been, at this point, cooperative in reviewing this design and giving at least a verbal agreement to it. I do want to point out that This plan does implement a number of the findings from the traffic impact study that was developed through Lansing Country Club property. It does include a public landscaping plan, which was provided in a previous submittal to the town. It does need to be updated. And then probably most importantly from a like overall planning perspective, it does implement the improvement of the Pensy Railroad, the Pensy Greenway Trail, which has long been in the town's plans. I included 2 excerpts of plans that we have on the books that call for the development of that bike trail. So I would say that along with sort of the ability to take truck traffic out of the Pepsi plant and have those trucks exit onto Calumet at that signalized intersection rather than at the unsignalized driveway, which they currently exit at, are 2 favorable things that are happening in this plan. But that being said, we did have a number of comments that we included, areas that a project could be improved, most notably this trail crossing here on the plan. The town staff is requesting that be moved up north so that it is sort of in line with this truck exit. So you don't have a trail crossing a semi-truck driveway. That's pretty much it, I guess, from a sort of comment perspective. I will also just point out that because of these other parties that are involved, we would need some written agreement from them as a condition of any approvals that we would grant for this project. I'll also point out that the town council would be a party that would be ultimately accepting the public improvements on this project, similar to any other subdivision.
So just a recommendation of town council for approval.
This would be an approval, but it would be contingent upon town council action. So that being said, this is a preliminary hearing. The applicant would be asking for the scheduling of the public hearing.
So Tom, in regards to the Pepsi track, is the curb cut being removed then, or are trucks still able to turn in there? You could try to limit trucks turning out of the existing, or is it just whichever way they want to go?
So we don't have any plans for actually removing or modifying that north curb cut. I don't think it's been suggested or approved by Pepsi, but the idea is that trucks would still be able to enter in their existing, which for those looking, it's right here. I'm sure we've all seen Pepsi trucks trying to get out there, but yeah, the idea was because they have a kind of like a guard shack and they circulate into the building into their grounds through that driveway. So that would likely remain the same. It would just be exiting traffic coming up that Maple Leaf crossing.
Try to put some no exit signs on that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Any other questions for Tom? That being said.
Oh, I do. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. So,
it's like a dramatic pause, though.
sorry. Well, I just wanted to see if anybody else, the elected officials, I thought they might want to talk, so I was thinking that. So, is this the second point of ingress into Kenmare, correct? But they don't own any of this land, nor will they own any of this land.
That is correct.
So this is a town project more than a Kenmare project to provide access in there?
It's a Kenmare project, but it involves town right of way, yes.
But they don't own any of it, just to get ingress and egress into their development.
That's correct.
So who would provide additional curb cuts into this segment that you're showing here in the future after we've all moved on? Would that be the town?
As far as like from the Lake Business Center,
Correct.
that would be it would become a public road. So yeah, the town could permit any type of access onto the road.
So it'll be another, and the town's gonna plow and do all those types of things, and
The intent is that it would be, yeah, dedicated road, dedicated to the town, and the town would own and maintain it.
And the only curb cut, is this approved by the town then? Is the only curb cut that's approved is the one coming out of Pepsi?
That's the only one proposed at this point, and the approval is where you're reviewing it right now, and you're being asked to approve it.
Okay, I'm just trying to catch up on how this is part of the development outside of it being just the road coming in from the south to
So-
connect to Calumet.
Yeah, so I do have another exhibit that was provided to me by the developer, which I handed out to you, and I can put it up on the screen, but I know that Gary Warfel, the developer, is prepared to talk a little bit about how this piece fits in with the rest of the plan.
And we're only talking about this, right? Because there's two segments of this thing,
That's right.
right? So this is the segment we're talking about.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
a,
So how many trucks do you anticipate coming out of the Pepsi lot onto this, to come to the light at Maple Leaf and Calumet Avenue? Since you're given, that's the only curb cut.
off the
So
top
it's
of my
not
head,
for
I
the
don't,
public.
off the top of my head, I don't know, but I know that it was contemplated in the traffic study that was done for Maple Leaf Crossing.
Right.
So when they developed the plans for the Maple Leaf Crossing and Maple Leaf Boulevard, that traffic study included truck traffic from Pepsi using that road to
I asked the same question, I still don't have the answer. We don't know how many trucks come in and out as it relates to that.
We do know that number, I just don't have it off the top of my head.
So they're only gonna be allowed to leave, not to enter in that way? Is that what you said, or is that the curb cut on Calumet that's existing to Pepsi?
The intent is that they would use that curb cut for exiting traffic only.
Okay, so as a part of this public hearing, this entire project is the traffic having to do with this new roadway and what happens to Calumet Avenue as it relates to Pepsi and Lake Business Center warehouse section are part of that approval?
Could you clarify your question to me?
Well, I mean, my question, there's a lot of warehouse space at Lake Business Center. And I've been very consistent in talking about the truck traffic that can come in and out of there as a lease. And now this is providing another access point because I think Pepsi leases a significant amount of that warehouse space for them to bring trucks onto this new roadway, whatever we're calling it, Cadmera Boulevard. And I'm just curious if the town and whomever has looked at that or had meetings with Pepsi to have some idea of what kind of truck traffic, because if they're all going to go to that light, there's hotels, office, cigar smokers, bicycle people, all kind of cool things happening there. And I was just curious if the amount of truck traffic, which I'm assuming is semis, I've seen a Pepsi truck, if that's part of what we're talking about in this particular 1B segment.
Like I said, I don't have that exact number, but
Okay,
it
that's
was
just my
included in the traffic study for Maple Leaf Boulevard.
All right. And the town owns the thing, and we didn't, and the number of trucks. That was it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for staff? Not for staff, okay. All right. That being said, is there someone that would like to speak on behalf of the petitioner? State your name and address for public record.
Good evening. Gary Warfel, Saxon Partners, 25 Recreation Park Drive, Hingham, Mass. 02043. Let me start with this before you go on to the next thing, Tom, to answer some of the questions. I have met with Pepsi several times. And I don't know the number of trucks either, but what they do plan on doing, all the trucks that are currently coming on Calumet and doing a left turn or a right turn in some cases with no signal will be all now going to Maple Leaf Boulevard. So while it may bring more traffic to Maple Leaf and Calumet, it reduces the traffic, the same amount of traffic further north. The only changes that we made on this plan since our development plan was filed is we took the curve at the corner of Pepsi and we moved it further away from the Pepsi building So the actual amount of land that Pepsi has agreed to convey to the town is very small. I think it's under 1,000 square feet, but it's necessary to make that curve and that radius work for trucks. So while we did accommodate Pepsi, we did take a little more wetland. So we're modifying our wetland permit for the mitigation. It's not significant, but it still has to be done. We're clear with NIPSCO, at least in principle. We're clear with NICD in terms of that underpass. And we are also ushering through the underpass for the Pensy Greenway on your behalf. Since we're already working with NICD on the roadway, we're also working to get you the proper easements and legal, which is done by the way, for the Pensy pedestrian underpass of the NICD. So that's basically it. Tom, I do know we are going to move the crossing so it's further north of the truck crossing, and we would like to put traffic control stop sign.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the petitioner?
Can I do some
Yeah.
one,
Okay.
this is more for the benefit perhaps of the people in the room, but I wanted to, can you blow that up? No, that's fine, that's fine. I wanted to put this in context because we have arguably presented our planning in pieces and phases, and we really have to because of the complexity of the project. So what we just talked about today, 1B in preliminary, is down at the far southeast corner of the project. Everything in green is the expansion of the Pensy Greenway. We're going to about triple the Greenway connectors in the area. And then what we will talk about a little bit later, at the public hearing will be phase 1A, which is Fisher Street. Phase 2 has been platted with what we call phase 3, but it's phase 2 and phase 3 is platted interior. So this now completes the puzzle. Just to jump ahead a little bit to the public hearing section, I've talked to Tom at length. We're going to defer action on that until the November 8th hearing. We've agreed to, there's more discussion that needs to take place. That way, everything will also be done.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Baker.
Yes, sir. I was curious. You mentioned you had met with Pepsi. Is the only parcel that they're giving up as a part of this 1B, the turn radius down at the south end there?
Yes. The only other part we are going to, they're going to grant us a construction easement for the curb cut that goes into their property because we're going to build the curb cut. We're also going to build the apron. So we will take that about 10 feet into their property, which will hit their parking truck parking area. And also to clarify, there's actually 2 more curb cuts in the curve north of the NIPSCO substation for NIPSCO vehicles. And we're amenable to any other curb cuts, but I don't think there's a necessity at this point. So we have the curb cuts there's 3. There's 2 for NIPSCO and 1 for Pepsi.
Going into their substation.
Going into their substation. That's correct.
All in the north end, right where all that other action is.
Exactly.
Okay, so then Pepsi, like I said, is only giving up that bottom corner there. None of this. Is this all easement that's coming to the town, Mr. Vanderwood? Or is it going to be deeded?
This would be deeded, dedicated right away. Yes.
Yeah, our plan for the overall everywhere where there are roadways is to have land conveyed to the town. So all of our work will be in town right away.
So this is an approval of the actual roadway, how that's configured or how it fits into the zoning or the comp plan, whatever one is applicable to building new roads. Is this approval part of 1B also, Tom?
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Work.
Hi,
coming back.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Oh, no, I had a question. Okay, I got a question, Mr. Mayor. You were talking about curb cuts, and Mr. Baker mentioned curb cuts into Lake Business Center. What would be your thoughts about the benefits or drawbacks of doing that?
Well, just if we step back and look at the whole picture, and we'd be amenable to that, I think we should probably at some point, this is only planning, but once we start building and putting plans forward for density, it might be a good idea to revisit traffic in the entire area. You know, we submitted our traffic studies. It might be a good idea to get some, just get some concurrence with Maple Leaf Boulevard, excuse me, Maple Leaf Village, Maple Leaf Crossing, Centennial Village, and you know, any other development on Clement Avenue. And we can also maybe at some point, I know Andy's not here, but at some point maybe we can discuss the connection to Illinois. The more we start thinking about that internally, the more we start thinking about what's happening on Ridge Road, the more we think about the neighborhood that's just north of us around Timmerick and Manor. This could present a solution that really balances the equation. But I think we need to look at it.
Thank you. Make a valid point there. I know we're talking about the road, but do you have any sort of updates and thinking around tenants or timeline for the development?
Yes, we have a little reprieve. I was getting a little nervous because we are following Nick D's lead on the Fisher Crossing. We're working very closely in pre-con with Nick D's general contractors. We think it should be closed once and not twice, and we're ready to do that. They've been delayed a little bit, so they will not be doing that until March. So we have a little time. The development agreement still moving forward. Had a really good round of meetings with NIPSCO last week. Their senior management were in sync, so that's going very well. We have some technical things to work out. Nick D has been fantastic. They've just been really good to work with. So we're a timeline. We're holding back on marketing. We've had some interest and we've taken some tours, but we really need to get the access put to bed, because there's no point talking about something that may not exist if we don't have the access completely.
So current timeline looks like March would be when the construction of infrastructure.
Exactly correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? That being said, this is a preliminary hearing. We're looking for a motion to set the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to set PC docket number 22-020 Spin Munster LLC, Chimera Phase 1B dedication of Maple Leaf Boulevard for a public hearing.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Thomas, please call roll.
Councilor Millen.
Yes.
Councilor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Rachel Brannigan.
Yes.
Bill Baker.
Yes.
Brian Specht.
Yes.
Roland Radford.
Yes. Gary, please work with staff regarding all the notification requirements. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. It's PC docket number 22017. Spin Munster, represented by Gary Wolflow. Requesting approval of preliminary plat for Kenmara Phase 1A, in addition to the town of Munster commercial subdivision located at the southwest corner of Timmerick Drive, Manor Drive, and Fisher Street. Tom, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. This is Phase 1A, which is the counterpart to Phase 1B, which we just discussed. It's the Fisher Street entrance into the Lansing Country Club property. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission at a preliminary hearing last month. The vote was taken to advance it to a public hearing. The applicant has advertised for the public hearing. I'm just going to be brief because we did talk about this, but the proposal that was put before the Planning Commission last month was shown here, which proposes a rerouting of Manor Avenue to the west and terminating at Timrick Drive. Two roads kind of combined, and then there's a single intersection here with Fisher Street. Fisher Street is then extended to the west into the Lansing Country Club property. At the meeting, and that's it. Similar to the previous item that we discussed, there's multiple parties involved, but it's essentially just a road project. It does involve the replatting of the residential lots in this area, as well as the modification of Evergreen Park, which is here at the intersection of these streets. At the meeting last month, the Plan Commission raised some questions about overall traffic flow through this area, potential backups on Manor Avenue, and then there were some questions about how the parkland would sort of work with these residential lots here, including how this driveway would access this residential lot, either through an easement or some kind of a dedication of property. We sort of took the Plan Commission's comments back to a staff meeting, and we kind of reviewed it a little more closely. And we are essentially at a staff level are kind of concurring with the Plan Commission on that. Speaking with Parks and Public Works, our takeaway from this is that, yeah, this alignment could create a number of issues in terms of the overall line between public and private property, the maintenance of the park, sort of the privacy of those residential lots, having parkland right in front of them, and then just kind of the sort of awkwardness of some of these, the layout of these lots with this driveway actually exiting in front of another lot. So those are all summarized a little bit in the Plan Commission staff report. But kind of after having that conversation and identifying some of those issues, we coordinated back with Gary, the developer, and kind of came to an agreement that this layout as proposed is really not desirable. And so we sort of agreed that it would be best the public hearing had been already advertised for, and to go through with the public hearing, but really have a discussion of this, ultimately table it so that we can have additional discussion about a better layout of this intersection. So same conditions would apply that were recommended last month, which includes written agreements between all these different property owners as a condition for any approval. But at this point, we're asking that it be discussed here, get the opinions and suggestions from the Planning Commission, and then we'll take that back, table it, and then we'll take it back. We've got a meeting scheduled tomorrow, actually, to have a more technical discussion of this plat.
Well, Tom, I would think obviously taking the question and comments is a good thing, but we're also looking for staff recommendations when it comes to peer meetings after tomorrow in the direction that town engineers, town level staff thinks appropriate for this kind of development, especially entrance. Does anyone have any questions for that?
I have a question. This is a town issue, not a development issue, right? Is this holding up the development in any way? Because now something that's been through this, I'm assuming the developer's paying for all this engineering.
That is correct.
And you went through it a bunch of times before, and now we don't like it because the access points that we brought up the last time to get into those two lots, are those two houses not owned by the developer? Is this a scenario where those two houses are driving what we're talking about here?
There are 3 properties owned by the developer. One is this lot here on the south.
Yeah, because this got moved the last time, just to get to it, because we were worried about the lights going into the one house with the folks coming off Timrick. Now we're into this one. Now we don't like this one now too. And it sounds like if we're back to these two. So I'm kind of interested in knowing what the feedback is from those two residents as it relates to what we're trying to accomplish for the greater good here. What's the other option? Roundabouts?
That is one option that was proposed early on, yes.
Is this holding up the development anyway, Mr. Warfel?
Well, we'll bring you up.
All right.
We'll bring you up in a second.
Yeah, I'm prepared to answer that question.
That's it.
Any other questions for Tom?
I don't really have a question, but I read in your comments, you know, one of the concerns was that I'm looking at this image right here. You see that the driveway for lot 21 is really very visible to that house next door at lot 20. And I think that's really less than ideal for lot 20. I was just looking at the current satellite image of that area, and I do see that there's a garage, just offering a suggestion, whatever it's worth, but there's a garage in the back of lot 21. Maybe they can have their driveway access off of Fisher, you know, just to get that driveway out of, obviously that's, you know, up to the designers and the engineers, but I'm just trying to figure out how to get that driveway out of you for lot 20. But I just think that's, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be sitting in your house and looking at someone else's driveway. I mean, they might have a car you don't like or something. I don't know. These things kind of
driveway full all the time.
yeah, these kind of things,
Yeah.
you know, are not good for neighbors.
I think that's something that we've actually talked about and discussed the possibility. It would involve, you know, some reorganization of that lot.
Sure.
So that's a possibility. We're looking at multiple options here. To Bill's comments about, yeah, it was originally changed. I'll just give you a bit of a history on how this intersection has changed over the years that we've been talking to Gary. The original proposal was the original proposal was for a roundabout to be installed in that intersection. That was determined by the developer in about a year ago that to go in a different direction. He can speak to his perspective, but my recollection is that it was considered to be a very land intensive, you know, involves a lot of land because you have to have a very large roundabout because there's 5 legs to it.
The bicycle trail was
Truck.
Yeah,
convoluted.
there were multiple crossings. So the plan was then changed to have Timrick Drive terminate into Manor Avenue. And that was, like I said, about a year ago, that was proposed, and that was the kind of the working design moving forward. That was presented to the Park Board and the Plan Commission, and both of those bodies raised the concern that it would be disruptive to the houses that are on Manor, those 2 south lots that would basically, the road would terminate in their front. So after receiving that feedback, Gary did go back and work with his design team. That's where this kind of came out of. This came out of a response to the, I guess, criticism of the previous layout. However, I guess from our perspective, after going through this and seeing that, yes, it did solve for one problem, but at the same time, it kind of created some problems that are probably more significant than headlights shining in a window, because you have a very strange, and I don't mean this to criticize anybody who came up with the design. I know everybody's working to come up with the best solution and work with everybody's concerns. But ultimately, this, in our opinion, is just a strange, results in some strange externalities that we hadn't anticipated. And so that's sort of where it is. And yeah, we're going to continue to work on it until we come up with a solution that solves for the problems, but doesn't create new ones.
Do you have any preliminary characterization of what a solution might be based on conversations with other departments?
I mean, we've talked internally about the roundabout option coming back. It seems to, although it does result in a number of pedestrian crossings, greater number of pedestrian crossings. There are no real maintenance issues. There's no really adverse impacts to any of the houses in the area. It is a good way of slowing down traffic and kind of calming traffic through that area. So that's something that I think we'll probably continue to discuss.
Didn't this have a potential triple stop sign?
Here, yeah, the planning commission had suggested last month that an additional stop sign be added on. I think Timber.
You stop at Timber, and then you stop at Fisher, you stop at Bennett, and you stop at Fisher.
Right.
The time, you really only have three options. You got either tying in the lake to the street like this. You got a roundabout where you close it off like Chicago does and make a cul-de-sac out, right? I mean, those are the three
That is
options
an
you
option, yeah.
have, right?
That would solve.
How long is it going to take for these options to work through the process while the developers trying to spend tens of millions of dollars in our community?
I can't answer that.
That's important.
All right, is there any other questions for Tom? No. That being said, is there someone on behalf of the petitioner who would like to name and address for record again?
Gary Warfel, Saxon Partners, 25 Recreation Park Drive, Hingham, Mass. 02043. Yes, this is delaying us. Yes, this is costing us a lot of money, but yes, we want to do it right. So, I mean, it's a complex project. It's a complex intersection. So we were honestly a little frustrated with the delays, but now that Nick D's delayed, now that we have 1B, let's take a month and let's just figure it out. And so we're gonna meet tomorrow and go through some options. Roundabout, it doesn't work. It looks nice. We thought it would. That was our initial idea. We talked to a lot of people about it. It's not safe. It takes up too much real estate. Never heard the idea of a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's why I'm here.
If we're talking about calming traffic, that'll certainly do it. But it's an option. But I think we need to start working together and solving the problem. We did think about the driveway to Fisher. That is certainly an idea we discussed. We think it has merit. There are only two homes that are affected, and that's 8841 Manor and 8837 Manor. We've talked to both those homeowners, and we're in the process of starting now to vet some of these designs with them, because I think they need to weigh in. The beautiful thing about this is that it will calm traffic. It doesn't add traffic to that neighborhood. It gives us a connection to Calumet Avenue, which is how all of our traffic studies were put together. It doubles the size of Evergreen Park. This option was preferred by Parks and Rec over the last option. And just to be clear also on the option that had Timrick teeing into Manor, that line, that lane, and we designed it that way, did not shine into the lights or into the windows of people's homes. It was just right to the corner of one of the buildings in a driveway. So we were thoughtful about that. So I think we have two options. We didn't think about the cul-de-sac. Maybe something to talk about. That would sure put a halt to a lot of that traffic in this neighborhood, that's for sure. But
if we had a brief spitball about the cul-de-sac, what would be some considerations?
Well, I think from a fire perspective, we have to look at the length of the cul-de-sac. There's no houses there.
We'll open up a public hearing.
Yeah.
what would you do, cul-de-sac Manor? And
I would cul-de-sac it right at the end, just so if people come down, they gotta turn around. I mean, there's no houses around there. You just kind of close off the intersection.
Something like Twin Creek or any other dry creek, it would just be a turnaround.
Oh, for both Manor and Timber.
Close it all up. What's the difference? You can't turn there. So you make that truly residential area. And if people want to get.
We're gonna have to go all the way up to Ridge.
Well, I don't know if they want to. Well, no.
Let's do that in your neighborhood.
I would love that cobblestone. You know, I don't know, I'm just trying to look at residents' perspective if they are worried about traffic and cut throughs.
If you did do that, I think we would want to have the conversation about opening up Wentworth Avenue.
Yeah.
Because you're
Right,
just
yeah.
gonna,
Right.
you're gonna cut a major artery that people are gonna, they need to rely on.
Right, there's a lot of discussion in town about increased traffic through this neighborhood, trying to get to Fisher from Ridge Road, from Illinois. And if that were blocked off and opening access on Fisher where there's no driveways, it's the back of houses, there is the apartment complex. I mean, that seems like that would probably be the trade-off.
Well, it's something to think about. You guys can work on this over the next month and come up with different ideas, I guess, right?
Would we be in a position next month to seek preliminary plat approval for 1A and 1B?
It's on the public hearing agenda, and it's all presented, ready to go, and the staff is comfortable with the design. You be both on the agenda for public hearing.
It would bring continuity to the project. That's
Probably, I mean, you do, Gary, such a great job with pictures and, you know, drawing the green line for the Pensy Greenway and pointing out it's tripling the length of the greenway we have in town and like laying out what the implications are for residents. I don't know if the cul-de-sac is, it's just an idea that popped up out of nowhere. But any effort to make it clear of what what the impact might be on traffic patterns for residents. Where there, I would imagine there's a downside of, hey, I'm used to driving out on Fisher to go where I want to go. But there would be a great upside of no more traffic, no one is coming down my street who doesn't live here because there's no place to go. And
I don't know, I see a lot of,
you know, and then what would be how would you go out? It looks like you mentioned Harrison, Lawndale, just like what are some of the traffic patterns that people would need to get used to?
Kind of even Chicago does what they call mountable curb, right? So it's made for a fire truck to go over if they have to, but it's not made for cars to go over, right? So it's something to think about for if you look at it, if you want to look at it, if you have to close off one street to keep one open, or if you look at doing a cul-de-sac, closing off both streets.
Which is an important consideration given the firehouse right there.
Well, I was just thinking about, this came up recently with the Oakwood and River. Remember when several of us who wanted it to stay the way it was, but it was actually a violation, and that distance from Fairway to River is much less than what I'm seeing here, the length of Manor. So how realistic is a cul-de-sac for Manor? Just fire safety and.
I would say just gut feeling on a cul-de-sac at Manor, that would not probably be a good idea from a fire perspective. I think we would want to maintain continuity between Fisher and Manor. Timrick, a dead end at the end of Timrick is probably more likely, but again, we have to look at that.
Well, and if there is this mountable curve, that is essentially for fire truck access, the at cul-de-sac. And if it is, what I was envisioning anyways, is something like this, but not two cul-de-sacs, but a connection that just doesn't go out to Fisher. Was that what you?
I was envisioning anything. I was just putting on ideas and letting the staff and developers, engineers come up with.
you know, now that I think of it, you don't really need the cul-de-sac. You just tie the two roads together.
Tie the two roads together, but stop access to Fisher and open it up to.
Right.
Wentworth.
The only, I guess, a negative would be that it would be sort of an impediment for people in that neighborhood to get to the hospitals, you know, and get to the Calumet Avenue businesses. They'd have to take a different route. And I'm trying to think of what street to the north.
That's what I meant. If we can sort of make that clear.
Yeah.
What that alternative route would be.
I would just think that from the emergency response perspective, we would need to have some connection between Ridge Road and Fisher. there's gonna be times,
Yeah.
and since we're just spitballing, as you say, there's gonna be times when those gates are down at that Ridge Road station for minutes, and all the, you know, ambulances and fire trucks from Lansing and from the west will be using Manor or Holman to Timrick. So,
Or indeed, then Timrick becomes a cul-de-sac, maybe Manor stays.
You guys have some work to do.
Yeah, good idea. So we'll hash it out and come to church. Hopefully just try to do the planning one more time. Right.
But thank you for being, I really appreciate your comments at the beginning. Yeah, it's delaying us. Yeah, it costs more money. And yeah, we need to do it right.
Yeah, let's do it right. I mean, it's too big of a project.
And to make good access, right?
Thank you.
Well, it is a public hearing tonight, so at this time, I'll open up any comments from the public that'd like to speak. Well, they're here. Right? If you could sign in, they're here. Please state your name and address for the record.
Gomez, 227 Timrick. So I'm right, but up to the park. So I wasn't aware of this until I got the registered letter. Did not following, what's going on or hear about it, but I think it's important for me to know, what's going on. Talking about stop signs, I couldn't imagine stop signs being there with the traffic that comes through Timrick already onto Fisher. I also have a property at 607 Cambridge. So the driveway goes into Fisher. I know that's going to be what it is with the commuter train and, the stop sign, I guess, that's going on at Harrison and that street there. So I just, I came because I wanted to find out what's going on. I'm glad that pre-planning is going to be done because I don't see that working with just seeing every day the traffic that goes through there. I just moved there last year, so I'm hoping to be, informed a little sooner, when you guys do have plans. Or my comments or neighbors. I got another neighbor here on Timrick. Cul-de-sac. I did hear that idea though from someone in the city, so I don't know about it being a cul-de-sac. So someone had that idea last week. I can't remember who I spoke with. He was just telling me some information. I mean, I think cul-de-sac is better than stop signs, just because I think it's going to happen.
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right on Timrick, right, but up to the park. Yeah.
What do you think of this idea?
Well, I mean, change is good.
Well, you see the big picture. You see the big picture.
Oh, I don't like that at all. I mean, I don't see how it's going to work. I see the traffic that comes through. I see people going through, like I said, stop signs. I don't see that's going to work without backing up. I don't know if that was stop signs. I know someone mentioned something about a three-way stop. I don't know if that, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the, the tick lines or what all that means. Now the traffic does flow. I mean, there's never a backup there. It does flow. We get a lot of traffic, but they're in and out. Nothing's stationary, nothing's staying. So it works. But, I realize it has to change because they're going to bring Fisher all the way through. So they have to figure out something like this. I don't think that's going to be. I see the green is the park, I guess, and then it plans to extend over to the other side of Manor. How that will be used, I don't know. Because I mean, our park as it is, really isn't used. It's just green space, which is nice.
We all like green space.
Huh?
We like green space.
Oh, I love green space. Love it. That's why I didn't put up a fence or anything.
Yeah, it's a great
but,
park.
Yeah, it is. But I don't see how extending it over how that would be really useful. It's not going to be informed and hopefully I can find out.
Second Tuesday of the month, it will be on the agenda again in November.
Okay. I will know it.
Second Tuesday of the month.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this agenda item? Anyone online, Tom? Anyone with their hands up online?
Yeah, it looks like Michael's got his hands up.
Michael, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Michael, we can hear you.
So Michael Gepfer, 10380 Oxford Place, Munster, Indiana. So at every step of this project, I think I'm just going to continue to bring this up. Instead of pushing all the traffic from this new development onto Calumet, a road that we just finished spending millions of dollars to move traffic off of, or the other option, moving a lot of this traffic into the residential neighborhoods north of this proposed development. Why again is it that we're not looking to connect to Wentworth? I mean, I've heard the rumors that the connection would bring crime, and people think that it's going to provide easy escape to Illinois. But Wentworth is no secret. It might not be utilized by some people in town, but it's not a secret to the many people that are already using it from both Indiana and Illinois. And also, if you open Wentworth as a second entry or exit, you can abandon this Fisher exit that would herd traffic through the residential area to the north. That's it. Thanks.
I think, Michael, developer said tonight that option is still on the table as we're looking at, as this development continues to be built. Right now, we don't even have a building up yet, but I'm sure as the
yeah, but I remember when this,
it's an option that we're looking at, because I think he has a space, to get to one.
Yeah, I remember when he first proposed that. And it seemed like that got shut down immediately. Like they wanted nothing to do with that Wentworth entry exit.
Well, Illinois is the dirty word in Indiana.
I understand that, but it's like Roland, it's no secret to us.
No,
Wentworth is no secret.
But let's keep that a secret, because I take it home every night.
Oh, now it's a secret.
So, thank you, Michael.
Yep.
Is there anyone online, Tom, as well?
That's it. No one else is.
That being said, I'll bring it back to the board, but I would encourage the board, obviously, to, if we make a motion, in my opinion, is I would like to keep the public hearing open, because we presented a new plan next month, and the public had the option to comment.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move to table PC docket number 22017 to the November 8th regular meeting of the Plan Commission, and request that it include a public hearing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Thomas, please call roll.
Yes, Councilor Milne.
Yes.
Councilor Tulowitzki.
Yes.
Rachel Brannigan.
Yes.
Bill Baker.
Yes.
Brian Specht.
Yes.
Roland Graffin.
Yes, motion passes. Gary, thank you for all your help in working with staff on this project. It's going to be a good project.
There is a solution. We'll figure it out.
It's going to be a good project for the town, I believe, my opinion. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. It's PC docket number 22019. Fadi Leos, right? Yep. Requesting a zoning map amendment, changing the zoning of property at 545th Street from SDM Manufacturing CD4B General Urban B District with a special requirement ground floor residential dwelling use restriction. Now I'll turn over to you for staff report.
Okay, the applicant Fadi Leos has purchased the property at 545th Street and applied to the town to rezone it from manufacturing to CD4B General Urban B District. This would allow him to redevelop the property and remodel it from what it is currently, which is a light industrial building, into a pulmonary clinic. The property is currently zoned SDM, as I mentioned. That does not permit medical offices. So the closest commercial district in the area is the CD4B General Urban District. And so the plan would be to ask for a favorable recommendation to the town council to receive that zoning change and then proceed with submittal of a development plan to get approval for all the modifications to the property. There is some information that has been provided to the board in the packet. I won't go through it in detail because that's not really up for consideration at this point. The board is simply being asked to make a determination whether or not this zone change would meet the criteria of zoning action. I've listed that in the staff report here. What you're being asked to do is pay reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan, current conditions and character of current structures and uses in the district, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted, conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction, and responsible development and growth. From the staff perspective, this requested zone change meets that criteria. I'll also just add one additional note. Under our former manufacturing zoning, this type of use was permitted, provided that it conformed to the standards of a commercial district. So you could develop a commercial property in the manufacturing district, but when you did that, you had to use the separate set of standards. So prior to 2019, a medical office would be permitted in this district without the zone change. Moving forward, because we have a little bit different set of standards now, it does require the zoning change. So that's why you'll see that this fits within the context that it is in, where you have some actual commercial uses within an existing manufacturing district. So yeah, the staff recommendation would be a favorable recommendation to the town council.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, this would be coming, if it's passed, this would come in front of the Planning Commission for site plan review, correct?
That is correct. The scope of changes that they're proposing to the site would require site plan approval of a development plan.
Any questions for Tom?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Baker.
So all the plans that are attached and everything here that is in this package, none of the things specific to the site are up for vote now. This is just to send a recommendation to the council to change the zone.
That is correct. If the board wanted to, you could place a condition on that recommendation, or you could require a commitment from the applicant to develop the property in conformity with the plans as presented. I would suggest that if you were to do that, just make it general enough that there would still be the ability to make some changes, because the plans presented here haven't really been reviewed in detail according to our development standards. I can say generally speaking, they do comply. I don't think they're, from a zoning perspective, any of the plans presented here would not get approved ultimately, but I would say if you're going to require any more commitment of that sort, I would keep it general enough that the planning commission and the staff could still make minor modifications to it.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Baker.
Because I think this might be the only time you can look at this curb cut and whether the curb cut is worth having on Calumet or on 45th, considering its location. I can't speak to how much ingress and egress is going to happen in a medical office versus manufacturing, because it was an electronics company. I'm assuming they put stuff together and didn't sell. It wasn't a retail in and out type of a thing. So the whole concerns that we have as the town continues to grow, we have more and more traffic and more development we should hurry up with, is that these curb cuts that we have in all the major thoroughfares have to be addressed. So that's just something to take into mind. Since you do have Kennedy Avenue, Kennedy Court right there as well. That's all. Thank you.
Something that you looked at before on the site plan review.
Wasn't the proposal last time that the curb cut on 45th would be removed and ingress and egress would go from Kennedy Court?
That is, that's part of the preliminary plans that they presented. I can't speak for the applicant, but my sense is that if that was a condition of the zone change, they would be amenable to it. They've already presented it as part of their plans.
So the process is a little always interesting in the public sector.
Any other questions for Tom?
Just a general, I think you addressed this, but wanted to ask when we did the code, when the town did the code change in 2019 and made this decision to have this manufacturing and would require then a zone change to put in a medical use. What was the rationale behind that?
I think that's pretty standard. It's kind of unusual that you would have a manufacturing district that would permit like a medical office. I think the idea is that you set a direction for a particular part of your town. Like, do you want it to be a manufacturing area? Do you want it to be a commercial area? And you don't sort of mix like a distribution facility with a medical office. It can be specifically in manufacturing. There's some incompatibility issues. And I think that was just sort of part of the package. And to be honest with you, I can't say that we really had a robust discussion about that change. But we did talk a little bit about manufacturing and whether or not, we wanted to really be promoting the light industrial and manufacturing uses. And generally speaking, what we heard was no. But at the same time, we didn't want to make any real dramatic district changes. And then most of our property, we want to kind of keep everything the same as it were until we did a more comprehensive planning process and looked at land use in general and then got more specific.
Because it seems like if this would have been zoned non-manufacturing, there are still some light industrial uses there, but mostly what is Humane Indiana is right next door. The Times is there. There's some medical facilities. This open lot
To the east.
into the east of the Times. I feel like things about that have come before the planning commission. Do we have an idea what sort of use that is likely to become?
Let's see. Are you referring to this? Right?
Yeah, that one next to the Times.
To my knowledge, that was just recently purchased by Francisco.
And so they would also need to do a zone to put in a medical use. They would need to do the same process.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, because that's also sort of manufacturing.
I would even call this parcel manufacturers, minor electronics. You can take my trucks there to put strobe lights on them for.
Yeah, it was very, very light
They
industrial.
put my Motorola radios in trucks. In.
That's the premise of that whole zoning, is to have that kind of place.
So anyways, we're looking, this is still up here. Is there anyone else that'd like to ask Tom any questions? Someone here on behalf of the petitioner like to speak? Just state your name and address for the record.
I'm Amr Silla, working with the HOH group based in Schaumburg, Illinois. So 623 Cooper Court, Schaumburg, Illinois, 60173. And just hoping, I was don't want to repeat myself from last time, but just hoping that's fast. So not much more than I have to say. Just hopefully we get this rezoned and move forward with the developments review. So
great, thank you. Any questions for the petitioner?
Yeah, and just to double verify, your intention is to remove that curb cut on 45th.
That's correct.
So if that were a condition, you'd have no issue with that.
Still a site plan review process,
Yeah.
which I would recommend to the planning commission. You're right. I would say we follow this as being a preliminary a rezoning, and then we move on to the site plan on the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Since it is a public hearing, I'll open up to a public hearing. Is anyone here online or in person that would like to speak on behalf of this petition?
I see Michael's hand on Zoom raised. Again, I don't know if it's just left up or not.
Well, let's check and see. Michael, can you hear us?
Yeah, I don't. I have my hand raised though. I didn't do it.
You do or you do not?
Did not.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else going once? Going twice? No other comments? I'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to forward a favorable recommendation of town council to approve a zoning map amendment changing the zoning of the property at 545th Street from SDM manufacturing to CD4B general urban B district with the special requirement ground floor residential dwelling use restriction.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Any discussion? Tom, please call roll.
Counselor Moon,
Yes.
Counselor Tulowitzki,
Yes.
Rachel Brannigan.
Yes.
Bill Baker.
Yes.
Brian Specht.
I will abstain.
Roland Rathner.
Yes. Thank you. Work with staff on the next part of the process and meeting in front of us with a site plan review. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda are findings of facts. The first finding of facts is finding fact is PC docket number 22014, Image Resource Group on behalf of CA Health and Science Trust requesting approval of amendment to Lake Business Center Plan View Development to revise the site design plan for Lake Business Center PUD at 9200 Calumet Avenue. Get a chance to review these findings of fact. So I'm looking for a motion.
Can we approve all three at once?
Yes. You don't need me to read all three of them, do you? We don't read all three.
I don't think
Can I
so.
say finding of fact A, B, and C on the agenda?
Sure.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve findings of fact of A, B, and C on the agenda?
I'm gonna make my first motion. I make a motion to approve findings of fact. Should I list the PC dockets or
You just say
A, B, and C?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We'll do a voice roll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, we have other business, additional items for discussion. Anything, Tom?
I have none.
Nothing.
I don't know if this makes a difference or not. I'm just noticing the next meeting is second Tuesday in November on a new year. It's election night.
It's fall break. I'm out of
I'm
town.
out of town, so.
People may be out of town. It is election night. Is there a desire to move it to a different
Week
night?
after, or it's fall break for Munster schools. We're off Monday and Tuesday.
Vacation.
Yeah, I'm going to Wednesday.
You're talking about moving it to Wednesday, the 9th?
Right about, that's the election night is November 8th. It's also fall break.
Right, I understand that. So are we talking about moving it to the 15th or the 9th?
Does a certain either day not work for you, Brian?
It doesn't make me any difference. I just want to put it in my calendar.
Yeah. I'd recommend following Tuesday for it. Is that too far away?
Does that make a difference in terms of the tabling to a date and time certain? Well, the public hearing tonight was advertised for tonight, but then it was tabled to the next
To
meeting.
the next meeting, but I didn't
But
say
then say date.
Right, you're supposed to table it to a date.
Sure.
Would you like to can you go back to the motion? Can you go back? Is the meeting still?
Right.
On that motion.
What, pick the date first. Yeah, contract 1 week forward. Are you gonna, like Brian said, you're gonna bump it the other way?
I mean, it makes no difference to me personally, but I don't know if I have I had to check mine with my wife to know if we have anything going on the 15th, but.
It's tough on
You can do whichever is more convenient. I mean, we want to have a quorum.
Why don't we do this? Like Bill said, why don't we
I mean, I think you can schedule a special meeting on the 9th and the 15th, and then you could cancel the one that you don't want to do if there's a question of, we don't know who's going to be available. I mean, the chairman can call a special meeting really at any time, as long as there's like 2 days, I think, notice. The only thing that concerns me is the phase 1B, in which case
That's more.
potentially we could have them re-advertise the public hearing.
Yeah.
Since they're going to be basically doing, well, it's different people, but
Did they already advertise for November 8th?
no,
They advertise for
Then
this.
why is the advertising an issue then if they haven't specified a date as a part of that advertising? It's the next meeting of the plan commission.
well, because they advertised for this public hearing tonight, and then that was,
You're not gonna make them go to the paper again, are they, for the next time?
No.
It's
no,
open. I mean, we've done this before. The public hearing is just open. It's been open for months.
Yeah, we hold it.
yeah, but it's always deferred to a specific date,
The next planning commission meeting.
8.
next regularly scheduled planning commission.
But you haven't set that date. Oh, you're changing it now. So it is set to the 8th because it's always the second Tuesday, but it's an election item. That's everybody has it off and it's a national thing, right? Can't have a meeting during that day.
That's what.
It's like banker, get the banker to decide, so just moves it to the next day.
And we will be here working on that day, but if people aren't going to be available,
I vote for the 9th. That's my 2 cents.
I could do probably 9th or the 15th. So if you want to do the Tom recommended,
That's fine.
and if you want to call a special meeting on the 9th or a special meeting on the 15th and have the 9 open as the original meeting, is that what you're talking about?
You know, when you change the word, just call it special.
Okay.
So you could do, that was a good suggestion.
Yeah, let's hold the special meeting.
we could advertise both, but
The 9th seems to have the least impact on developers and I like the way that was whole week. Right.
Well, I wanted to make, and I don't know how this will play in, but as far, we've talked a lot about the delay for the developer, but there is one, we don't have a development agreement, and from the last that I heard, we're not exactly close to that. I have not even seen it yet, so.
You're talking about Saxon, Orful.
Yes,
Okay.
so everything they're doing, I mean, I don't want to delay development either, but if we're not in a place to agree on a development agreement, anything they, I mean, you see what I mean? They shouldn't really be doing a whole lot without that, because what if we never come, you know, we're here. We never come to a place of agreement. All of this work they've done. I mean, hopefully we're gonna come to an agreement, but I'm just saying, we're not really delaying them
You can still
in
build
my
it-
mind.
You can still build a road nowhere, right?
Sure, they can, but there's, you know, there are asks involved, and I don't know if those, we're still not close, I don't think, because I've not even seen it.
The worst comes to worst, you build a development, he gets this from the town, right?
Yeah,
no, I think he's not going to build until the development.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm
Right.
saying. We're not really delaying.
Yeah, so why are we doing all this other stuff if there's no development agreement? I don't understand.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
What
I
happened
mean, all the
simultaneously?
pieces are kind of working together, but yeah, the development agreement is a critical path. I think this is kind of a critical path too, because reaching consensus on the infrastructure and the public improvements is related to the development agreement too, because that's where the determination of the
Yeah, it's just a
costs are, and
contingency.
that'll get put into the development agreement potentially, if it gets approved and if it, so it's a iterative type of a thing, I think, but I think Councilor Miller is correct. I mean, he's not gonna break ground next month or anything on Fisher Street. So,
Yeah, it's state permits.
Yeah, so I don't think it 6 days, I mean, I'm not advocating for one day or another, but 6 days is not, I mean, I have a feeling we're gonna be negotiating for a lot longer than 6 days, so. It's just.
Town check.
there's no right answer on this. It's whatever works for everybody here. So I don't really have a strong opinion either way.
Your wife does though. We'll just figure out what.
Right,
yeah,
it's fine. I'm good with either day, so just let us know. And I can call.
I'll let you know if you call a special meeting.
Right, let me know.
I
And
know
check
the
your,
year has a conflict
check your
on the
calendars
9th or
tonight,
15th.
tomorrow, if there's a conflict between either that Wednesday or the following Tuesday. Send an email to Tom so he knows. Okay. So that being said, there's no other items on the agenda. So we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
I just have one, I'm sorry, just one thing, since we did have, maybe they're gonna post whatever the public hearing, I know it's a continuance, but if nothing else, if we could please contact the person that came and spoke tonight, you know what I'm saying? The resident that came.
That's a good idea.
Because I would hate for, she nodded and
We have
said,
their address,
yes,
so.
the age.
227
so-
Timber.
Yeah, so I just don't want her to get, and her neighbors to get this.
And I think if we did feel guilty about
You put a sign on the property right there.
tabling it their own way, the town could also, we could also take evidence of public hearing ourselves. For the special meeting. So we can figure it out. I mean, I think that's a great point, specifically getting in touch with those people.
Yeah. All right, so we have, motion to
Yes.
adjourn. Do a
A
second.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Right.
Like I said, send, if there's any conflicts, send Tom.
I'll send an email.
Like I said, I'll be happy just to have it done the Wednesday after, so.
Is there other stuff in the queue for next month as we're getting closer to the holidays, Tom?
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Sorry to interrupt. What was the proposed date for next month?
We're going to announce it, and there'll be a public announcement. It's going to either be the 9th or the 15th, depending on everyone's availability.
Okay. Should I just check the town website?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do a special announcement. That'll be probably on the homepage of the website.
Okay, thanks.
What was the premise of this?
Yeah, so I mean.
According to staff, let me
No.
Is it anything new? I mean, it's not right.